You ever have any doubt about out calls and out balls? When the ball's out and when the call is made? In this video, I'm going to talk about what's an out ball, when is it out, really important part, and what do you do when you have a disagreement out there on an out ball, right? On a call that's one team thinks the ball's out and the other team thinks it's not. In this video, I'm going to address all of these different parts of out balls and out calls. This video is in response to a longtime student, friend, and listener to our Pickleball Therapy podcast. She posed a question the other day that said, me and my partner were playing, my partner hit a shot, let's put it around here. This player hit it reflexively and then hit it and then called it out. A few seconds later, her partner called it in or said it was in. So the question was, what do you do in that situation? What are the rules that apply? So in this video, I'm going to try and address all of, or not try, I am actually going to address all of the different pieces of an out call, because it can be such a disruptive part of the game sometimes when we have those out call disputes. And I'm going to give you a suggestion on what you should do when you hit a ball that your friends and opponents in this situation call out. First, let's start with what is an out ball. So an out ball is any time that the ball lands outside of the court, that is an out ball. That's pretty easy. The difficulty arises when you have a ball that is closer to the line. And actually, to round it out, a ball on the line is not out in pickleball. So that's out, that's not out. Now, if the ball is here, that's usually where the controversy arises. I know from the camera angle that you cannot see any space here, but I will tell you that that ball is not, in fact, on top of the line in any sort of way. So this is one of those situations where technically the ball is out. The reading of the rule, because the ball has landed outside of the court, outside of this line, this ball is out. But you may not be able to call it out because you cannot see any space between the line and the ball. Like here, you can see this space, so that's an easy call. As I bring it closer, that gets to a point where, in a real game, it's the same thing, depending on your angle of view, where you cannot see space between the line and the ball. According to the rules guidance, you're not supposed to call that one out. So there's a world, the world in which we live in is a world in which the ball can, in fact, be out, but not be subject to being called out. And that's an area where you need to exercise some discretion. The easiest thing to do is if you can see a little bit of space between the line and the ball, call it out. If you don't see any space and you're not sure, then presumption is the ball is in. That's another important part of this rule. You need to be able to conclusively say that ball was out, not I think it was out. I think it was out, ball is in. So presumption is ball is in unless you can clearly call it out. So that's what is an out ball. Now, this applies to the question that our friend asked about the call being made. The answer to the question about what to do in this situation will depend on when the word out was said. Now, I believe I didn't ask the follow-up question because I told my friend I was going to make a video. So if I'm wrong about this, let me know in the comments. But I'm going to make a suggestion, or the presumption, because of the fact that the ball had already been hit, that the ball had already landed when the word out was said. That is when the call is made. And why that's important is, let's say that you're here, and let's switch it up a little bit. So we're going to make the same yellow team hit it, and let's say they're hitting a ball that is going to go, you think it's going to go out, right? So the ball's traveling like this, and you tell your partner out, but the ball hasn't landed yet, so it's traveling, and you say out. That is not a call. It is not a call until after the ball lands. If you make the call after the ball lands, then that's a call. Otherwise, it's just partner communication. And to illustrate this, I'm going to share with you a personal story that happened in a game that I played in a PPA tournament. It's a 15-point backdraw match, super exciting match. I think at that moment we were 17-16-2, I believe. And what happened was this: we were dinking up here. This is me. This is my partner. I get off the MVZ line a little bit, and my partner hit a shot. We had a referee in that match standing here. That becomes important in a second. So my partner hits a dink. A cross-court dink. It lands here. This player comes over, yells out, then hits the ball this way. I heard the out. I hit it in the middle, and this player puts it away. So that would have been a side out. But I said, to the referee, I said, well, he called it out, and it affected the play. Because once he called out, which I was going to appeal anyway because the ball was in, it was on the line. And again, I don't think he did anything wrong in terms of, we make mistakes, and I'm going to get to that down here. But, when he called it out, it affected the rally. I asked the referee, did you see it? The referee said, yes, I saw it in, but contended that the player's statement out was simply partner communication and not a call. I disagreed with the referee. I asked for the tournament director, who happened to be Don Stanley, who's been in our summit before, and he's a very knowledgeable rules person, to come out and make the ruling. And Don asked everybody what happened, and in fact made the ruling that the call here, once the ball lands and this player utters the word out, that is a call. Once a call is made, it's a dead ball. There's no more action. The rest of the shots don't matter. And then the only decision is, was it called correctly out or not? If it was called correctly out, then it's out. If it wasn't, then we win the point. And actually, I think that's the one that got us to 17, and then we served one more to win the game, 18-16. So knowing those rules can be really important, particularly if you're playing tournaments. But even if not, it's helpful to know that when the call is made, or the out call is made, when the ball bounces or after the ball bounces, that's a call. If you say the word out and the ball hasn't bounced, that is not a call that the ball is out. That's simply partner communication. Very important. Now, what do we do when we have a disagreement about an out call? And what happened in this case, as I mentioned, was you had one partner say out and one partner say in. That's a fairly common one, right? So you have that disagreement. In that case, the ball is in, because the presumption is in. If there's a disagreement between two partners, then the call is in. Now, importantly, that call, let's revert it over here. That call that was made here on the in-out ball here, that call belongs to this team. In other words, if you're this team, you have nothing to say about that call. Whatever call they make is correct. Now, you can ask the partner, that's okay. But if the partner says, I didn't see it, or I'm not getting involved, then there's nothing more you can do. You cannot overrule the call made by this team. Now, this team can voluntarily give up their right to make the call to you. So they can say, well, did you see it? And if they say, well, what did you see? And you call it in, they can't disagree with that. So initially, they have the right to make the call. They can then grant that right to this team. If they do that, then they have to live with whatever this team said. If there is a disagreement between these two players, that's happened here in this particular situation, then that ball is considered to be in, because the presumption is that the ball is in. Now, the team, my friend's team, they're all friends, opted to replay the point. There is nothing wrong with replaying a point. If you ever have a disagreement out there and you're not sure what to do, replaying the point is a great way to save friendships and not let things escalate when there's an honest difference of opinion about a call on a court. Which leads me to a very important concept, agency. And I'm going to suggest this to you as a really good way to avoid potential disputes is this. And let's assume that you are this player here and you get a high ball that you want to attack, and you choose to attack it like that, all right? Well, let's make it a little saucier like that, right? What we suggest is take agency over your shot. If this player has a difficult time reading that shot, whether it was in or out, we suggest that this player who hit it take some responsibility for putting this player in an awkward position of having to make a very tough call. If this player had chosen to hit the ball here, probably don't have that problem. But if you're hitting balls constantly around the lines like this, you're putting your opponents in a difficult position. And here's the thing. Most of the time, this player here, who you're putting in a tough spot with these kind of shots, is a friend of yours. So you're putting your friend in a very tough spot to make call after call after call, when if you didn't have those kind of angles that you were trying to hit, you wouldn't be putting him in that position. And here's the moral of the story. If you want to hit those angles, knock yourself out. Hit the angles. But if your opponent, your friend, makes a quote-unquote bad call, don't worry about it, right? Because you're the one creating that situation. So agency, take responsibility over the types of shots you're hitting and how they're impacting the calls on the court. And the last thing I want to point out about disagreements is it's a huge source of not just, potentially, causing issues with friends and stuff like that. It's a huge source of distraction. And what will happen is you'll disagree with a call, and then the next 3, 4, 5 shots, even longer sometimes, you'll be so mired down in that call. Oh my God, that one call, that you're not focusing on what's happening. So it's such a big source of distraction that if you apply the agency concept, then you're less likely to get upset about the bad call. And I put it in quotes for a reason, because first of all, we don't know if it was a bad call or not. You think it was in, they think it was out. We're all human. And I will tell you this, I operate from the premise, and I think you should too, that you will guaranteed make a bad call. Whether it's next month, the month after, you're going to make a bad call, and you have made bad calls if you played for any amount of time. I'm 100% certain that I have made bad calls. Are they intentionally bad calls? No. But I am a human being with human fallacies. The vision, the brain interpretation, all sorts of things factor into calls you make. And so we all make bad calls out there. We're all in the same boat on making bad calls. If you start taking agency over the shots that you hit and understanding that your opponent, in this case, who's also your friend, is a fallible human being, then you won't be as upset about it and won't get as distracted. Now, that said, if you're hitting balls here and getting called out, you have a conversation about that. But again, balls here, agency and avoiding distraction is a really important part of playing your best pickleball when you're out there and avoiding potential out-call disagreements. So hopefully this helped you understanding what is out, when is out, and how to deal with out-call disagreements. If you have a question, like our friend and listener did, please let us know in the comments. You can always send us an email at therapy@betterpickleball.com. And if you haven't listened to the podcast yet, make sure you check that out. Pickleball Therapy. It's available on all podcast platforms. It really helps you with the mental part of the game, help you play your best pickleball when you're out there, and enjoy yourself more out on the pickleball courts. Be well, and we'll see you next time.